the first principle we would like to talk about with our vertical stack is generating movement. Your cuts in a vertical in any offense are not always to get the disc. Your job as a cutter is not always to get the disc, but to continue generating movement. Some of your cuts are purely for the purpose of opening space and continuing the flow on the field, making space for your teammates. So the way this looks on the field is if I have the frisbee and here's my vertical stack of my team of 4. We have a lot of space in the field, that's great. Rather than timing cuts off of the thrower, Amber and Jimmy and Russell should be thinking about timing their cuts off of the previous cutter, assuming that they are going to get the disc. Otherwise, all the cuts are coming too late. If you're purely waiting to see what happens, like if Amber sets up a cut and I throw and Russell waits to see the result of that play before he sets up a cut, his cut is coming too late. So Russell is setting up his next cut in anticipation of the play before. Hey, under. Great. Jimmy is too late. Jimmy is too late. He watched for too long. So, in the scenario that I had not thrown that first pass to Amber, Russell is still moving anyway. And his cut is then making space for Jimmy to then fill into that space. So let's just go through the iteration where I don't throw to Amber, but Russell still times his cuts accordingly. Yeah. Great. So now then I could either throw to Russell, or I could have hit the other side, and Jimmy could have swung laterally to the other side. Does that make sense? Yeah. Great, so the first concept is what we're calling movement. Everyone say movement. Movement! Great! All right, Jimmy.
All right, so the second concept is going to be moving the disc horizontally to get vertical yards. So the whole advantage of a vertical stack is that you have you have 2 different primary lanes to throw into. You have the open side and the break side lane. A lot of times in vertical offenses, you'll just see a team try to work it all the way down the field on one side, and you're just jamming down really tight pass after really tight pass. So what we want to emphasize is using the horizontal movement, either through our reset structure or by breaking the mark, to then open up easier vertical yards. So an example of that is, let's say Amber makes a cut under. I'm going to hit her. We're moving down. And let's say I'm now at the front of the stack, Russell's not open. What we're going to be looking for now, instead of just trying to jam it again, is then moving it horizontally. Amber's going to swing it around to me, and this is an important principle. So, a good rule of thumb, as most of you probably know, is that we're going to be using is if the disc passes this plane of the stack, say I catch it on this side of Leila, the continuation is coming from the back, right? That's to Russell on that in cut. We don't want Leila to fill into that space because we're not going to be gaining nearly as many yards. It's not as dangerous of a cut. But let's say this pass from Amber to me doesn't get past the stack. We're going to want that continue to come from the front of the stack. That is because we don't want our throws to have to curve around the whole stack. It's a much more difficult throw. I can't see that space, and Russell can't time his cut as well. So, again, depending on and there's gonna be times where really close to the middle, and that's gonna kind of be on the cutter to decide. Leila should just take a little bit of a shoulder check. She can even turn her body, whatever she wants to do, see what Russell is doing, and then make a decision. If Russell's cutting to that space, Russell can also be vocal about what he wants. He can yell hold, he can yell anything to let him know that he is taking that space, right? So a lot of communication between the front of the stack and the back of the stack. Anything else on that? All right, so the second principle is using that horizontal movement to create better vertical movement.
All right, so the last principle we're going to talk about is you as a cutter want to be able, and as a thrower, you want to be able to attack in all directions. We want to be able to use both the under on the open side, the under on the break side, and also the deep space. So in order to access and be able to attack the deep space, our stack has to stay pretty shallow. So can we actually have 3 more cutters volunteers just so we can demonstrate what our spacing should be? Thank you, Nikki. Thank you, Meg. So our cutters want to have enough space between themselves so that they're not going to be picked constantly. So maybe spread out a tiny bit, but generally our stack is staying pretty tight. If Amber is 10 yards further away, then I am not going to be able to hit her out into space on a deep throw. I could like throw up some 50-50 ball that her defender would have an equal chance of getting, but I'm not going to be able to probably lead her out into space as she's running full field. Does that make sense? So maintaining a shallow stack is going to help us attack in that deep space. Additionally, a big hazard of vertical stack is getting trapped only attacking on the under open side over and over and over again. Can we just show what that looks like, just having only undercuts to this side? So even if we're timing our cuts well, even if we're timing our cuts early, you can see naturally as we're going, freeze, everyone freeze! Freeze right where you are. Check out our balance. Is this a balanced field? Where is everyone standing?
Open side.
Open side. So these are some of the best players in the world, and they have already made it so that they are all standing within 15 meters of each other. This is terrible spacing. So we really want to be prioritizing, just like we want to move laterally to attack vertically. Some of our cuts have to be coming to the break side. Even if you don't think you're getting thrown to, you have to attack the break side as well, just to keep generating our movement, number one, and also so that we have many possible options of attack. Does that make sense? Great.
So what we're going to be doing now is we'll be doing this in teams. We'll have 7 on the field at one time. We'll start with 6 downfield, 1 person with the disc. Sorry, we're going to start with no frisbee. We're going to really break it down. We're going to have a fake frisbee though that we're playing with. So how it's going to look is we're only cutting from the back. All right, there will be times in the vertical offense we might build in where there will be cuts coming from someone other than the back, but for now, we're going to only focus on cuts coming from the back of the stack. So, I have the invisible frisbee. Amber's going to start it off by making a cut, right? She's out and under. I'm going to say throw to make it clear that I've thrown the invisible frisbee and it's not just a pump fake. We're all going to move down the field. We're going to keep holding our structure. We're going to hold that space. We're all getting down the field. Nikki's making the next cut. Amber, you're going to pump fake her, all right? Nikki's clearing back. I'm going to come across.
Throw.
Wherever I catch it, we're going to continue, throw. Alright, bring it back in. That looks great, everyone. Alright, might seem a little silly, but it's what we're going to start with. It's a good way to kind of see the field completely without worrying about any of your throws or catches. After we go through a few iterations of that, we'll then add a disc, which is going to feel awesome, and then we might even add defense after that. So, does everyone understand that? Again, we're not moving from anywhere in the stack but the back. We're focusing on that spacing. Let's also focus on moving that invisible disc side to side. All right? Any other points?
Just to reiterate, you really have to use your voices. With no frisbees, do a clear verbal throw, or let's say clear, which sounds different than throw. So throw or clear.
One last point. If I make the Amber cuts in, I'm pump faking her. Let's not have Leila initiate until I turn and look at her, all right? So she should not make a cut as soon as I say pump. I don't want her taking off and eating up all this super valuable space. As the front of the stack, wait until I turn, engage with my fake frisbee, then throw to her. All right?